Hello everybody, this is Books and Battlefields, Charles North the 6th here, and I would like to welcome you to our first video experience. I have behind me New Market Battlefield, a battle that took place during the Civil War on May the 15th, 1864, and it is made famous by the VMI Cadets. And these cadets served a great purpose to the Confederates and ended up becoming famous, as well as a movie being made by them. So this is where we're going to start, and I hope you stay along for the ride. So that cannon that you see there marks the position of Confederate Lieutenant Randolph H. Blaine's 4-gun battery, which moved forward in direct support of the advancing infantry to those positions past the Bushong farm. And from there, we'll see the Field of Lost Shoes. And then back that way, in the beginning of the day, we see where the 3 Union infantry regiments and 17 pieces of artillery established at the battle line on Bushong's Hill, which was right along here. That happened around between 1 and 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The Confederate troops advanced towards the Bushong farm around that time as well. I am right now walking to the Field of Lost Shoes. Now, that day in May, it was a rainy day in the beginning, and it became muddy, as well as everything else that you can imagine. And when the cadets from VMI were instructed to charge, they charged across this field. And this field, earlier in the year, had it was planted in spring wheat, but it was reduced to a muddy bog by 3 days of hard rain and thousands of tramping soldiers. As well as anybody else knows what happens when mud and shoes get stuck. You tend to run out of them, and in the heat of battle, I could see that you wouldn't want to leave your shoes behind. Well, actually you would, because you wouldn't want to run after them because you might get shot. So since the shoes were lost here, this is now where it is known as the Field of Lost Shoes, because of all the empty shoes that were placed here or left here by those VMI cadets. As I was saying, this is the field, and if you see that ridge right there, that's where it ends. But everything in front of me here is that famous field, and they charged from that fence line. Man, what courage it takes to charge in this open field against guns just firing at you. I can only imagine, but it takes guts, none the least. Now, I also must note that on that ridge line, that is the 30th New York Battery, or the position of von Kleiser's battery. And when the cadets charged, he was forced to abandon those cannon. And then when the cadets overtook it, I would say they were quite thrilled. But we're going to go up there and see that commanding view in a moment. Now, I must say, for those who do not know, these VMI cadets were aged between 15 and 25 years old. So these are pretty much just kids. And as a 30-year-old, 25 isn't old either. I mean, That's why when the Confederate general put in the order, he said, "May God forgive me," in simplest words, for sending in the boys. So such a young regiment to send in and have to face that kind of, as you'd say, destruction and death. But overall, they succeeded. And I guess that's youth. So right here, we're at the position of von Kleiser's 30th New York Battery. And without any infantry support from the retreating Federals, von Kleiser was forced to abandon a cannon, which was then exuberantly captured by the cadets, as written on the Virginia Museum of the Civil War pamphlet they gave out over there at that building. So he gets overrun without any infantry support, and he gives up the cannon. Might be slightly embarrassing, might hit a little bit of pride, might take a chunk out of it a little bit, but what's a man to do when he's got no backup? And all those cadets coming at him. Regardless, anybody with a weapon is going to be dangerous, and you don't have anything to protect yourself, you might find yourself in a bit of a pickle. He chose to run. Can't knock him for that. So it was the spring of 1864 with General Grant. He declared that his primary mission is to bring pressure to bear on the Confederacy, so no longer could it take advantage of interior lines. And part of that was the Shenandoah Valley, which was the breadbasket. So he sent his men over here, and Confederate General John C. Breckenridge, who was in charge of the army here at New Market, he pulled together all available forces to repulse the retreat. And then the Virginia Military Institute Cadet Corps marched from their classrooms in Lexington to join Breckenridge and his army of 4,500 veterans. And the two armies met here, and by mid-morning, Breckenridge had determined to force the battle. Well, of the cadets, there's 257 of them. Yeah, as it may seem, I'm reading off this little note because what I like to do is find out everything along with you guys about a battle. How I find things out is I'll look it up, find a vacation spot, say, hey, I want to go there, and we do it. So it's part of getting to know me. So here, the Union line extended eastward to the Valley Turnpike, a distance about 1/2 mile. And the Confederate charge along this line drove the Yankees from the field by 3 p.m. Right now, checking my watch, is about 2. The Union forces retreated northward, pursued for several miles by the rebel troops. I have to say, this is quite a beautiful scenery. It's probably one of the most beautiful battlefields I've been to when it comes to that. And if you're wondering, Route 81, I-81 is right along there with 11 next to it. Right over there in the distance, that's the museum. And then you have the Bushong Farm. There's the Field of Lost Shoes. And that is where von Kleiser's 30th New York Battery stood, down there by that cannon. There's still more to be discovered over there, and we're going to get to that in a minute. But just take it all in from on this angle. One other thing I would like you to know about me is that when I go to battlefields, I always ask people what books they would recommend. So whenever you look at my collection, if whenever you see my collection and I'm reading some of the books, especially about battles, those books were recommended to me by those folks who work at the battlefield, so I can get a better understanding. And it teaches me what I need to know about the battle, what I want to know about the battle, and everything in between. So, and this battle here at Newmarket was between Breckenridge and Sigel. So I'm also at a different part of the battlefield now, which is called the Bloody Cedars. As you can see behind me, that's about where they are. As it reads, Colonel George Smith, commanding the 62nd Virginia, remembered Captain Conrad Current's G Company, 62nd Virginia, was killed trying to grab his colors. Of the 11 companies making up the regiment, 7 lost their commanders. 100 out of 142 men were lost in this ravine. The fire was the hottest I was ever under. The battle-weary 62nd Virginia positioned itself along this tree line. So they're positioned all along this tree line here. And then moved on. So right also in this area, Stahl's cavalry was successfully repelled by severe Confederate artillery and infantry fire. Their strength renewed, the rebel troops rallied to defend against the next attack forming within the ranks of the Union infantry. Obscured from the view of the Federals by the rolling terrain, as you guys see here, smoke, rain, and fog, the Confederates anxiously awaited the advancing enemy. Yeah, this terrain is quite something else. As you can tell, it goes down here and it goes right up. And then it comes along here as its ravine. And right now I'm walking along the side of the hill. It's quite the spot. As y'all can tell, I'm probably trying to bring some kind of different aspect to touring battlefields. I'm literally touring these battlefields mostly as a new person to see this. This is my first time seeing the battlefield. This is my first time really learning about it. So I'm learning along with you guys most of the way. Like, I know something about it, but only a snippet of what really went on, which sparks and gives me that curiosity to come here and learn more about it. So, and that's why I like bringing on, and that's why we'll like bringing on to show you guys, you know, anybody watching this, you guys. So, as I said, we learn as we go, literally. So here, the Confederates took full advantage of the disorganized Federal charge. They shot mercilessly into the ranks of the charging infantry as it rose over the crest. Oh yeah, I could see this happening. Here's the crest. I mean, that's the spot where it's supposed to say on the map here I have. Yep. You can see it fades away. I'm walking backwards, mind you, trying to shoot this terrain changing. Because as you see that tree, it's slowly losing its trunk. And some of the stuff you've already seen is somewhat disappeared over that ridge hill, or the crest of that ridge. And now we're walking backwards, looking up the hill. Yeah. I'm walking backwards. I can only imagine what it's like walking forwards. And all of a sudden, right here, the Confederates realized that one of the Union regiments, the 54th Pennsylvania, had been left unprotected, and the 22nd Virginia and 23rd Virginia Battalion began to advance on the right flank, while the 62nd Virginia fired on the left flank. The 54th PA soon realized and joined the other Federal regiments in a defensive retreat. Yeah, that was a whole lot of words. Seem to have scrounged that out a little bit. But yeah, quickly realized that someone's been unprotected. That would cause some kind of chaos. I'm sure most of you by now are wondering, why do I have a camera strapped to my neck? Well, that's because I take a countless amount of pictures. Like my wife says it all the time, I just take pictures of rocks and dirt to most people, but what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to pick up all of the terrain changes that happen so fast. Like for instance, I will walk this battlefield and I'll just literally sit here, take a couple pictures as I go along, adjust my focus, try to get something else, and move along here, because what else is my camera good for than picking up terrain? What will I do with the footage? I don't know. Maybe I'll donate it. At least maybe that will go to good use for when time comes where they want to check how everything is. Who knows, but it'll most likely will go to better use than what it is for me now. So, as it says, having pursued the Federals to this point, the Confederates came under fire from the 5th U.S. Artillery Battery, commanded by Captain Henry A. DuPont. He related the battery was in the open and entirely without support, but the curtain of smoke which hung over the field prevented the Confederates from discovering this fact. The Union cannon fire slowed the Confederate pursuit and provided the Federal Army time to retreat from the field.